Hello, this is Sophomore Astrology, and for this video, I'm going to do a birth astrology reading on Tyler, the Creator. So, I became interested in doing his astrology chart because I watched most of the Lollapalooza festival this year, and I missed his part. I don't know what I was doing, and then later on, I saw his interview on Hot 97, and he just seems like a very interesting person, and I kind of wanted to understand the energies that he could be potentially dealing with, because he's definitely someone that's he's not someone you could easily understand at face value, that's for sure. And, of course, I say this is as I'm doing his chart, I don't know this person, don't know them personally, nothing like that. I could be completely wrong. But I say that to say from what I've seen, I mean, there's like 10 years of him being kind of in the public eye. So there's plenty to go off on. So, I'm just a person. Still could be subjective at the end of the day. But I just kind of wanted to understand who this person, at least based off of their, try to match reality with what I've seen in the media and stuff versus what I see in their astrology chart. So from that, I just kind of wanted to start. So for him, he was born March 6, 1991, and he was born at Ladera Heights, California, United States at 3:17 p.m. So that makes him, his sun is in Pisces in the 8th house. His moon is in Scorpio in the 4th house. And then he has a Leo rising. He has a Leo ascendant. So kind of the first thing I want to say right off the bat, with his sun in Pisces in particular in the 8th house, sun in Pisces, you could say a lot of people just say a sun in Pisces has a lot of friends. That's kind of like a stereotype of Pisces. But to get more specific, his sun is in the 8th house, meaning that when the sun shines down on the things that he's able to see and perceive, he's able to see things that people might not know that are there, might be able to perceive things that people might ignore or might not even have a detection that it's there. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. Another thing, his moon is in Scorpio. So moon in Scorpio is interesting because the moon doesn't like to be in Scorpio. You would think because Scorpio, moon is ruled by Cancer, and Cancer is a water sign, so is Scorpio. They're both water signs. And you would think that the moon in Scorpio would be comfortable, but it's not in this instance because Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. And Pluto is if you want to go to mythology and stuff like that, that's the god of the underworld. So you don't want someone like the god of the underworld to be in a space where it's meant to be Cancer is very maternal energy, very nurturing. And it's also when it's not being nurturing, it's cardinal water. It's like a wave pushing against a cliff or something like that. And when you think of it that way, it's kind of like Scorpio is too fixed and it's too deep and it's too intense for the moon, which is used to just kind of swaying and kind of changing with, the moon cycle changes every month. So that's a very it's a very fluid energy versus fixed Scorpio is not as fluid, even though it's a water sign, it's not as fluid. And I wanted to talk about that. Also, too, what's important, too, he was born when during a disseminating moon. That's important to remember him as a person because he kind of seems to me as someone who can be very impulsive, including emotionally impulsive. And that makes sense because the disseminating moon, it's the first phase right after the full moon. Because honestly, people think that the actual full moon time is when everybody kind of loses their sense of sanity. It's kind of the moon phase right after that. It's once kind of the shit hits the fan, everybody kind of starts to realize what happened, and then the chaos is set loose. That is the time he was born when we're talking about the moon cycle. So that's important to remember too as we go further. And then the third thing, like I said, he's a Leo rising. So it's not surprising though, because it's kind of like what I've kind of noticed about celebrities. It's kind of like they have an ingredient. You know, the celebrities that kind of really are able to be in the limelight for a long period of time. I want to say 10 plus years. Even after death, they're still kind of remembered, and their music is still kind of shared and like listened to, and appreciated. What I've noticed is like there's like three ingredients. It's like they kind of have to have a Leo aspect where people want them to be in the limelight. Two, they have to have some type of work ethic, some type of earth energy that makes them committed to their craft in a way so that people will be able to cherish it and cling on to it for long periods of time. And then the third thing I wanted to say is that like there's got to be like a Neptunian aspect, because when it comes to the arts and film, they have to kind of be sensitive and also kind of lose themselves in a Neptunian way, in a Piscean way. So that's why I kind of wanted to go off on, is just kind of talk about those things. Because there's a couple aspects of him as a person that people have seen in the public eye, and I just wanted to understand that more. So as I talk more about like the specific astrology aspects and his placements, then I'm glad I found them, because it kind of like it gives explanation to the things he does. That's why that's how I kind of use astrology. Instead of like using it to explain people, I kind of see how people are and they live their lives, and then I use astrology as a way to like, okay, that makes sense type of thing. Why they do the things that they do and say the things that they do and stuff like that. So the first aspect that I want to talk about is his sun squares Mars. Now, in no way am I a medical doctor, and I do not have I do not have the legal capability to diagnose someone, but Sun squares Mars is usually someone who's very hyperactive. Like they kind of have the same behaviors as someone who could potentially be diagnosed as ADHD. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not diagnosing this man, but I'm literally just saying that kind of like those behaviors that you're hearing from that type of like hyperactivity that someone might have, this is what his placement in his chart shows. Because people who have their sun squares Mars, they could have a lot of physical strength, they work hard, they can be impulsive, it's hard for them to sit still, they can be very active, they just have all this energy. And because the sun squares Mars, it's like he has all this energy, but he doesn't know how to like put it in the right space, to put it in the right way. And mind you too, kind of keep this in mind, because he did just turn 30 this year. So with his Saturn kind of returning and learning how to deal with the aspects in his chart that are not unfavorable to him, you could probably see from the time when he first came out as Tyler the Creator, when he first came out with I don't know his first album's name, but like from the time he first came out till now, he definitely has progressed as a person. So let's keep that in mind too, because these are kind of like, these are energies that someone is born into. So also too, I thought that was interesting too, because this is type of energy where it's like, they also don't feel sorry for themselves. It's kind of like an energy where, instead of kind of like sulking over this, over that, they kind of would rather do something to fix the situation versus just kind of being in the emotions of it. And then also too, because this person has so much energy, they could kind of be considered destructive. And you would think someone like this wouldn't be able to keep good friends, but then also too, I found another aspect, which is just a quick mention of this aspect. I didn't want to go deep into it, but his Venus sextile Mars, that makes someone very considerate, very kind. They usually have a lot of friends, and it's also kind of like, think Venus sextile Mars. Mars is a physical energy, and Venus is about like love and beauty and harmony. And when you put those two together, that just makes it like that person, it's not hard for them to express how they care about people. And sometimes the way that they care about people might come off when they don't even really want it to. So I wanted to mention that too, because I know for a fact that like his friends definitely, I guess they call them the Loiter Squad, because I used to watch a couple episodes of that prank show that they did, which is basically like his friend's version of Jackass, and they're just doing pranks on each other. And it's just, you see those friends, like those friends are still with him to this day. Like he's still talking about them in his interviews, like they just hung out yesterday. So I thought that was pretty cool. You would think someone with their sun square Mars, that they would be so destructive that they couldn't keep their relationships together, but that's why you have to look at the whole chart. And so I kind of wanted to speak more about his Mars in Gemini. So it's kind of like, you know how people say that there is a fine line between being a genius and being insane? I feel like people with their Mars in Gemini are like this. And I remember on that interview that he had with Hot 97, it wasn't that long ago from the time I'm publishing this, like, or, you know, uploading this video. He's talking in the interview, and he's talking about the times where he was banned from the UK and he was banned from Australia, which is kind of crazy to think that a rapper would be banned like that from countries. And he even said in the interview that other rappers were saying crazier things in their lyrics, but they didn't get banned. And he was wondering why he was being singled out. I'm not saying that this is a good reason why he should have been. I'm not saying that he should have been banned. I'm not saying any of those things. But when I looked at his chart, I could kind of see why. Not to say that they were right. It's not like I understand, like, it's not like that I'm, like, giving the okay to these people for what they did. It's more so, like, I could kind of understand what they were afraid of when they looked into him and who he was as a person. So his Mars is in Gemini. So that means someone, they could literally, like, Mars energy is, like, Aries, warrior, you know, like the general of an army. And then you cope that with Gemini, someone who is gifted with words and communication. Also someone who's very quick and has polarity, who could see all different sides of a situation. When you put those together, that is someone who could be, and also too, like he's got a lot of Scorpio energy in his chart. All that mixed together could be horrible. And I'm saying that because this is a person that you want, like, because I think he got either arrested or accused of inciting a riot. He is the perfect, like, he has the capability to start a riot. He's that motivational speaker that you want to listen to before, like, he's the guy you want on your horse. Like, I'm forgetting that movie. You know 300, where he says, "This is Sparta," and kicks the person in the hole? Like, that "this is Sparta" moment, like, the fact that his words were so, like, memorable, but also at the same time so inspirational and so motivating, like, that is one of his gifts. And he might have not been aware of the time. Maybe he is. But if he wanted to incite destruction and wanted to get, like, a mob started, like, he is the motivational speaker for a mob, basically. And he definitely can use his words as a weapon. And honestly, too, this is someone who's the leader of the pack, because they know not only is he very sensitive and emotionally in tune, but he knows what to say in the moments to kind of get people, like, riled up and ready for a fight. Also, side note, too, his Mercury squares his Mars, too. So this is someone who doesn't mind cussing somebody out, who will start trouble with his words, who will say the wrong thing. Because, I mean, he got banned from the countries because of lyrics he had written, like, lyrics of songs that had come out, like, years prior, you know? And that's where I feel like he said in his interview where most of the frustration came from, is because the current lyrics he was writing did not have that same, you know what I'm saying? Like, verbal combativeness that his lyrics had the years prior before they banned him. So I guess that's why he does get the reaction. Not to say that people should act that way towards him or anything like that, but that's explains, because emotions are not logical. So emotionally, maybe these people could pick up on his talent to be able to motivate people to do like, you know, like these things, you know what I'm saying, that could scare other people. So that kind of gave an explanation to that, you know. Because he also himself in the interview was trying to understand why people act the way that they do and why they banned him like that and how harsh they were with him. Because I thought it was crazy. He said, like, when he would go to the airport TSA, like, his picture came up on the screen like he was a terrorist. But it kind of makes sense. Like, he has that capability in his chart. He has that talent, you know. And so, yeah, I don't want to go on and on about that, but let's move on. The next thing is that his sun sextiles Neptune. So this is what I think makes him be able to like create the art that he does. He could be very sentimental. He has good relationships. Also, too, it gives someone a very vivid imagination and it makes him very intuitive, you know. But also, too, it kind of makes him very sensitive and vulnerable. Because in that interview, he talked about how, you know, when he first came out, he was very different than other rappers. And he didn't like how people kind of attacked him or at least like didn't understand him and, you know, expressed that they didn't understand him to the point where maybe they said they didn't even want to accept him or didn't want to like, you know, put him on like that. I think it's because like the way I think he started rejecting other like mainstream rap because he was the other. And in that way, he's so sensitive and vulnerable to his art. Like, I mean, there's a reason that there's that saying that, you know, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. That's definitely like a sun sextile Neptune thing. And what I've noticed, because I've done Amy Winehouse and I've done Nipsey Hussle, that's usually a common aspect when it comes to artists who really are very sensitive and really like passionate about their art. That's usually an aspect that they have. The next thing he has is Mercury. His Mercury trines Pluto. So what I wanted to say about his Mercury's in Pisces in the 8th house. So once again, he has a lot of 8th house energy where it's like 8th house is Scorpio. That's scorpionic energy. And then you cup it with his Mercury. It gives someone a very strong will and it gives them like clear opinions. What I love about this aspect, this makes someone very knowledgeable about the things unseen and things that are hidden and secrets. So it makes sense that like he doesn't like it, I've noticed too, because I guess there was something that came out that Jaden Smith said that he was in a relationship with Tyler Creator, and it said, at least according to the Wikipedia, that Tyler Creator like said rejected it at all costs. You know what I'm saying? Like he rejected that he had any type of romantic relationship with Jaden Smith, and that kind of makes sense because whether they had a relationship or not, the Mercury trining Pluto is someone who hates like they love secrets and they love things to be hidden. They love things to kind of be held in the dark and kind of kept away from everyone else. Because if you think about it, this placement or this aspect is like someone who works for the FBI or someone who's a private investigator. They're very intuitive and they almost have a psychic ability. Like they could definitely tell if someone's lying. They could tell someone is like just spilling out BS. They could read between the lines and understand that what someone's true intention is. His mind is like very powerful in detecting things like that. Also, too, on the other hand, it's like he doesn't, you could also make it see, like you could also say too, he doesn't like it when people make things obvious. He doesn't like it when things like make sense right away. Like there is a love for trying, like he probably, I don't know for sure, but this is a person who loves mysteries. This is a person who will spend time and be patient about really trying to uncover finding all the clues and taking his time to really uncover and find out, like, if Professor Plum really killed, Mrs. White in the library. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's that type of person who likes all of that stuff. So, like, he will definitely hate someone who just blurts out something and doesn't really think about what they're doing beforehand, because he really likes that evolution of uncovering something over time. And also, too, that's his art, too, because for me, I'm an impatient person. I kind of want to know what I want to know right away. And I guess I don't have the patience, and that's something I'm learning myself. That's something that I'm learning over time. And with him, he's the opposite. So maybe that's why I probably never clicked with his music, because he likes to have an evolution and a revealing over time. Like, like someone who's like slowly dusting off the sand off dinosaur bones. I don't have the patience to do something like that, but that's something that he would love to do. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about was his Venus squares Neptune. So this is very interesting too, because Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. Venus is about love and beauty. Like, Libra and Taurus are ruled by Venus, and Venus is all about like harmony and things being beautiful, just for beauty's sake. And when Neptune, which is the higher octave, which is kind of getting lost in the sauce and kind of being in another dimension and kind of like reaching a different space and time altogether and kind of getting lost in reality, actually leaving reality altogether. And the fact that these two planets that he has are squaring each other is kind of almost like disheartening to me. It's kind of sad when you think about it, because this is something that like he has to kind of, like, I kind of consider like a birth chart a soul contract. And you could kind of say that in this lifetime, he has to learn how to deal with that energy, that conflicting energy, because it's almost like when it comes to his own love life, there's confusion and he is almost like disoriented in a way. Because there's like all this energy. There's all this energy that he has, and particularly when it comes to his Venus and his sextile, like his Venus and his Mars are like, you can kind of consider them homies in the way that like Mars is very physical and Venus is about love. And when it comes to those energies together, he's very good about expressing his love and expressing what he loves. Like, and it kind of just shows in his physical demeanor too. But then when it comes to, like his romantic feelings that he might feel for someone, he'll get lost he'll be like in an illusion about the things that he loves and the people he loves, to the point where it's very boundless and there's no structure to it. It's like his Venus, like it's like his love life. If Venus is love and Neptune is an ethereal dimension, it's almost like he can't love in the 3D world, almost. Like, he can't love in concrete world. Like, it's, like, hard for him to just love, just in the very physical or very, like, practical ways. And, of course, that also makes it difficult to be in a relationship long term, because with commitment and things like that, you have to be practical, you have to be committed, and you have to kind of, like, put it in 3D and put it in reality for someone to experience every day, not just always be in the esoteric, ethereal world. So that's where I kind of, and that's also too why I feel like the mix of those two things is like why people were like questioning his sexuality and not really understanding his sexuality, because in all realness, like, Venus and Neptune are probably the planets, and also to Mars too. They kind of deal with all of that with sexuality, and Mars definitely with your sexual drive. And, that's it kind of explains like why there been like a lot of speculation with his sexuality. But like I said, he's not going to be direct. He hates directness. He loves it. And it's not even just like being obscure just to be obscure. It's kind of like he loves how people intricately, like, you know what I'm saying, covertly keep things hidden and slowly reveal it over time. But that's what this placement does. Venus squares Neptune. This is an aspect that helps you lift the veil of illusions. So hopefully, and I feel like his soul contract, at least the goal of this aspect, is for him to slowly learn how to reveal the veil. And it's okay to be like direct. It's okay to be seen. It's okay for like, sometimes things don't need to be a secret. Sometimes things don't need to be, you don't have to put an illusion. It doesn't have to be, something you can't conceive or see with the with your 3D eyes. So I thought that was very interesting of him too. And I guess the next thing I wanted to talk about is that in his interview, I thought that was crazy because I guess he said he's been out for 10 years, and he's not wrong. His first album, I don't know the name, but I know it came out in 2011. And then his latest album came out this year, 2021. And that's 10 years. That's longevity right there. So that's why also too, I was like, oh, his love life. It's like, I can't, of course, I don't know the man's love life, but it's like when I look at his chart, it's like there's no concrete way for him to have that committedness when it comes to his like romantic life from what I saw. But when it comes to his friends, and also too when it comes to his work ethic, his Saturn is in the 6th house. And like I said, he's a Leo rising. So Capricorn is in his 6th house. So that's also someone, like I said, like that's one of the ingredients I was talking about. His work ethic is like, it's easy for him to work hard. It's easy for him to kind of like get down and work for long periods of time. Get like, for an artist, that makes sense. Like someone who's in the studio trying to make songs, music, trying to make their art, and they do it for like hours and hours on end. It makes sense because Saturn in the 6th house and his 6th house having Capricorn in it, it's like he's able to kind of work for long periods of time. Of course, this makes someone exhausted, but this is also great because, like, remember in the beginning, I said his sun squares Mars. So it's like that energy that he's not able to put anywhere. Guess what? If there's like his art, his sun sextiles Neptune, when it comes to being creative and being in art and all these other things, it's very easy for him to kind of like get lost into his work and really work hard, and like it's almost effortless in the way that he's able to kind of put that much effort into something because he already has so much energy, And then I kind of wanted to go back full circle because there was, I'm trying to find the aspect. I can't even, like, my notes are kind of a little all over the place. But that's what I wanted to talk about. So kind of going back all like full circle, his Leo rising, his first impression, the way people see him before they really get to know him. It's kind of like, and also too, I wanted to mention this too real quick. I know that he I loved watching his videos of him and A$AP Rocky, like just being friends and having that wonderful bromance, because it makes sense. Like, he's obviously a good friend, and it's very easy for him to show how he cares for other people. Because right off the bat, he's a Leo rising, like his sun conjuncts Mercury, so he can be very subjective in what he says and what he does. And he, Leos, they can be kind of self-centered and in their own way. But obviously this person has a depth in them that maybe they don't want other people to see. Sometimes someone who has a lot of depth, they want to be seen as superficial, because if people really understand who they are in their depths, then it's kind of like, it's like like I said, he hates like people to just blurt out the secret and to blurt out the answer without really trying to kind of figure it out, because that's how his mind works. So, yeah, that's my reading on Tyler the Creator, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.